Welcome, 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 Agile family. I am so excited to be here with you all. And today I have the privilege, the honor to introduce Dr. Yolanda Mack. She is a senior principal systems engineer at Raytheon Technology and a vice president on the board of directors for Paul Tau Sigma, which is an international society for mechanical engineers. She earned her PhD in aerospace engineering from the University of Florida, where she specialized in computational fluid dynamics-based design optimization. Say that 3 times fast. And during her graduate career, she was named an Amelia Earhart Fellow. She worked at NASA. She designed optimization and sensitivity evaluation of liquid rocket motor engine components. I love how you do it. You just do it big all around. Dr. Mack was a 2017 Black Engineer of the Year Award. She received that award for her outstanding technical contribution. And she also received an award for an outstanding alumni award for I'm going to say this right, award for mechanical and aerospace engineering at the University of Florida. And she's currently leading efforts to expand the usage and adoption of artificial intelligence and machine learning and digital twin for Raytheon Technologies. So that's all of the stuff in the bio about Dr. Mack. But what I also know about her is that she is a sci-fi author. You should definitely check out her book. But with that, oh, and she's a singer too. I just found that out today. And so with that, I want to say welcome, 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 Dr. Yolanda Mack. We can't wait for your talk. Please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the great introduction. I'm really excited to be here today at the Agile for Humanity conference. So thank you, Michael, for inviting me. Thank you, Dr. Dave Cornelius, for having me. Really excited, and hopefully this will be fun. We'll go ahead and get started here. So as Michael said, I'm part of Raytheon Technologies, and as part of that, I've had the opportunity to work on a bunch of different fun things. You know, we're always inventing new solutions to hard problems. You know, innovation's kind of in our DNA, and so really fun to work there. And you know, given my background, you know, I've done a lot of things, but I did want to bring up the interesting thing that happened when I first started working at Raytheon Technologies. So when I told people, you know, that I had my PhD, or they found this out, and it was almost unanimous, they would chuckle. You know, they would look at me, and you know, for whatever reason, me, this face here and PhD combined together created this, you know, this laughter. And I'm like, you know, what's that about? I mean, obviously I look like an engineer, right? I have a head, I've got shoulders and a body and ears and eyes, nose and mouth. You know, what gives? What's going on here? And so really interesting that just that perception. There was a perception of me, obviously, and it's this perception that I've had to kind of figure out how to navigate most of my career, right? You know, usually you have a PhD, you know, immediate respect, right? But not the case. So yeah, I suspected I'd have some unique challenges. I was not wrong, and so we'll talk a little bit about this in the talk. Innovation squared. All right, so first, what does it mean to innovate? And I really like this definition. So it's innovation, to make changes in something established, especially by introducing new methods, new ideas, new products, right? So new changes. So, you know, changing the status quo, introducing something new. So, you know, we're not talking about a tweak or an update or a fix. You know, we're talking about something drastic, but in a good way. And again, changing the status quo. That's something really important to remember. All right, so why does innovation have to be something drastic? right? So let's say we have a cool new idea, and this cool new idea is just as good as the original. If we come up with a cool new idea, but it's just as good as the original, our new product is actually going to be worse. And so, but I thought my idea was good. Why then would it be worse? Let's just take a look from an engineering point of view. So now we've got our old product, we've got our new product, we have our cool new idea, which is just as good as the original, and we try to go and execute that cool new idea, and we end up with something worse. This is because there's always a cost involved in bringing a new idea to fruition. So what we have, our new idea that is just as good, that is not innovation. So when we talk about innovating, we need to think of something amazing. Our cool new idea needs to be awesome. It needs to be amazing, because it is going to take some work to get that idea into practice, to get people on board. And so, right, we run our simulation, we have our cool new idea, there's some cost involved in getting it going, but we're going to end up with something better than we started with. But when we want to innovate, we want to think of an idea that's awesome. So great, right? Easy peasy. There's nothing hard about that at all. So my cool idea was artificial intelligence, and we hear about artificial intelligence all the time. It's awesome. It's going to change the world. It's it's the most amazing thing. It's but the sci-fi community probably they're scaring people all the time, right? We've got Skynet, took things over, did bad things. iRobot, these robots just ran amok. We've got a HAL 9000 from 2001 Space Odyssey, that didn't go over well. So right, artificial intelligence, is it a good thing or not? It's certainly a new way of thinking about things, a new way of doing things. And it's scary. It's scary to people. And so sometimes it's a hard idea to get across. But despite the scariness, it's cool enough, it's innovative enough that I wanted to take this and figure out how to apply it to my business. This was my innovative idea. So I'll give you a quick background to artificial intelligence. Yeah, looks really complicated, right? I got lots of words on here and bullet points and numbered lists and stuff, but really all this is something called a neural network. We have a neuron right there. It's that funky little green alien thing right there. It's getting inputs from other neurons. Once that input is strong enough, then it fires its answer. And that's all it takes. Maybe it's getting input from 3 other neurons. If the strength of that input it gets is strong enough, then it fires, and that's it. It's a very, very simple process. But you put thousands, billions of these together, and you start to get some complex results. In fact, the very first artificial intelligence algorithm that I ever created was a dichotomous key-based artificial intelligence classification algorithm. Dichotomous key, it's a biological identification method. It uses these classifications algorithms. This is the very first artificial intelligence algorithm I put together. I'm going to come back to this in a second, but just keep this in mind. All this, there's all this stuff happening. It's pretty awesome stuff. Let's keep that in mind. But the real test of how artificial intelligence works, like I said, it's artificial intelligence is mimicking our own intelligence. And so I want us to go through the process. What if we are an artificial intelligence algorithm, and how would we approach these things? So I'm going to give you a test. It's going to be kind of a hard test, so bear with me. And all you have to do is be able to describe the 2 images that I'm going to show here. All right, we've got this. 2 images. Okay, you've got in your head what they are. Let's see if you're right. Good. If you said this picture on the left is a cat and the one on the right is a dog, you are correct. You are awesome. But have you ever thought about how you know that that's a cat and how you know that that's a dog? You know, it's so intuitive to you, you don't even think about it. So now if you think about it, maybe you think, well, you know, the ears of the cat are kind of pointed and upright on top of its head, and its eyes are kind of bigger compared to its nose, and its nose has this interesting shape. And so computers can do the same thing. They can identify these different features that allow it to say, this picture is a cat, this picture is a dog. It's mimicking the way that our own brain works. All right, so that test, okay, admittedly kind of easy. So we're going to go on to a second test. This one's going to be a little bit harder. All right, what have we got here? Okay, let's see how you did. You know, and this is a little harder because right now we see this picture on the left. It has kind of upright, pointy ears as well, and you know, this image on the right, I don't know what happened to its nose, but it's very different. But, you know, we can easily still see one is a dog and one is a cat. When we're talking about artificial intelligence, you know, we have to give these algorithms variations so that it can work with it. Okay, great. Now that you're up to speed, we're going to do a third test. Okay, ready? Uh-oh, this is a little harder. These are 4 different breeds of dogs, and you know, can we go through and describe them? If you're like me, I can't do it. But there are features, you know, someone that is familiar with different dog breeds, they'll be able to tell the difference between these 4 pictures. So let's, you know, this one, you know, maybe that's a beagle. We've got, let's see. We have a basset hound, a beagle, an English foxhound, and a walker hound. And if you got those wrong, you know, shame on, you know, no shame on you. But you know, you have to learn enough about these things to make a determination. What's the difference between them? Our computer algorithms have to do the same thing. You have to keep continuously feed it data in order for it to be able to distinguish between these. So we're going to go to one more test. This is the last test where you just need to let me, you know, think about what these images are. Here we go. All right. And so if, like me, you're seeing a bunch of faces everywhere, this is, again, a place where our own brains and artificial intelligence algorithms can go wrong. I mean, clearly, each of these pictures has an eye, a nose, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Yet that's our own internal image classification tests tells us other things. So this is just, you know, from our own perspective, this is how one of the ways that artificial intelligence works. Now you're all experts in it. And I'd like to go back to, and remember, let's remember to think about that first artificial intelligence algorithm I wrote. But, you know, artificial intelligence right now, you know, it's not very scary. We use it all the time. Every time we ask Siri a question, every time we go and use Google Maps, or we talk to our Alexa device, that's artificial intelligence in work. We're not even thinking about it. We're just using it. Other areas, you know, if you're watching movies on Netflix, you know, artificial intelligence algorithms are giving you advice on what to watch. You know, they're helping you when you're, you know, when you want to vacuum, the Roomba will take care of it, and you know, you can be lazy and just watch it. You know, it's also telling you what to buy. It's everywhere. It's doing all of these things for you in ways that you probably are not even thinking about. Okay, so artificial intelligence really is not something so scary. It's just a set of simple rules that create these complex results that look like intelligence. They're not really going to be intelligence. You know, computers can't really make judgment calls. They have no ability to be creative. They don't have any social intelligence. They basically are what you give them. That's all that they are. Today, artificial intelligence is about matching patterns. And so my innovative idea is to take this idea, take it to my business and find ways that I can improve my business. Good, there's nothing hard about that. So I want to come back to this very first artificial intelligence algorithm that I created. But what I didn't tell you before was I created this artificial intelligence algorithm in the 1980s when I was a kid. And I know what you're thinking right now is, wow, Dr. Yolanda Mack was a genius. She created this dichotomous key-based artificial intelligence algorithm. She created this thing, with features that include the capability to converse with humans, to continuously learn via in-depth conversations. I mean, this was an impressive thing that I did back in the day. So there's no internet at the time. There were no smartphones, so I wasn't able to record what I did at the time. So I put together kind of a reconstruction of that algorithm that I created back in the 80s. So we're going to take a look at that. And so, here's my Apple IIe, one of the first personal home computers that I used to create my artificial intelligence algorithm on. And so let's just take a look at this reconstruction. All right. Is the object that you thought of an animal, a vegetable, or a mineral? So that's the first question that this algorithm asks you. Let's say that you chose vegetable. Okay, now the computer asks you, is it green? And you say yes, and you're thinking, wow, this computer is on top of it. So the computer thinks a bit, is it grass? And you're like, no, of course it's not grass. What's wrong with you? And you tell it no, that the thing you're thinking of is not grass. Oh, I give up. That's it. So that's the algorithm. So I wrote a 20 questions program when I was in the 80s. I loved spending time at my Apple IIe. My father had left a book next to the computer that he never looked at, and I sat down, I opened it up, and I somehow got transfixed. And the code was in BASIC, which actually stands for Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code. And for whatever reason, I sat down and started coding up this thing. All right, but we said that this artificial intelligence algorithm, we can converse with it, which we see, but it can also learn. And so, this algorithm is very stupid at first, for lack of a better word. It gave up after the very first try, but that's because it didn't learn enough. So now it asks you, okay, help me out so next time I can figure this out. Please enter the vegetable you were thinking of. And you say a leaf, not grass, a leaf. And now it says, please type in a question that has a yes or no answer that will help you tell the difference between leaf and grass. So you type it in, it is part of a tree. And then it asks you what's the correct answer. The answer is yes. So now you're teaching it another piece. Behind the scenes, it's just building a logic tree that takes you down yes or no questions and answers to a response. The code was very simple, yet qualifies as artificial intelligence. And we talk about, I used all these flowery words to describe it, and you were all very impressed. That's part of this innovation process. In fact, I only realized just recently that I even wrote that this classified as artificial intelligence back in the day. So this was groundbreaking. So right, I innovated. When I was a kid, I did this amazing thing that had never been done before by me. And I went through all the steps that you need to do to innovate. I did my research, right? I looked through the book. I learned this code. I learned how to do it. I completed small scale tests. I sat there and tried it out myself to make sure that it worked. And I created this amazing product demo that was, me sitting at my computer hitting run and watching it run. And then I pitched my product to an audience. And so all the steps that you need to innovate and to get your idea out, I did back when I was a kid. And so now the question that you have to ask was, was this innovative idea that I had and implemented and executed, was it a success or was it a failure? It was a failure. And, you have to think about, why did I fail? Did I have a poor product? I don't think so. I think it was a pretty cool product. Who wouldn't want to play 20 questions with a computer? Was my pitch bad? I mean, I set it up well. I basically yelled out, "Hey guys, look what I did." And my parents, ran over and I showed them. So I thought my pitch was pretty on point. Did I have the wrong audience? So probably. So my parents, my father bought this book, but he never actually looked at the book. So he didn't really have any idea what I was doing. My mother was like, there she goes again. And so, she's just patting me on my head saying, good, glad to see you're having fun. But the overall attitude was just not really very impressed. And I thought, this coding thing is a wash. It's not really the thing to pursue at all. Why would anyone do this? It's obviously not the way to go. And so then the other question was, my credibility. Sure, I was a little kid, and so could that have played into things? And it had me thinking that innovation is not just about creating the amazing product. There are all of these other pieces that are needed to make this successful. I ran into similar problems early in my career when I came in, I found we were doing things manually, and I said, you know what, I have a whole bunch of new ways to do this. And again, the reception was lukewarm, and I'm like, but you'll be able to save so much time. And I was told, no, you're taking our jobs away. And I'm like, but you'll be able to stop focusing on boring things, and you'll be able to do so many new exciting things. And the answer was, but I'm valued for doing all of the old boring things. And I was spending so much time trying to convince people of this new way of doing things that I was spending all my time convincing and less time, working on my exciting new innovative idea, which is bringing artificial intelligence into the story. And so the question that I had was, and I realized I'm having the same issue, as an adult straight out of school coming into this new work environment. I'm having the same issues that I did when I was a kid. I did my research. I had the PhD. I had all the technical knowledge. I had executed a lot of these different types of ideas before. I thought everything that I was creating was great and flashy. But what I didn't ask myself was, was I pitching to the right people? What about my credibility? Going back to the idea that, people chuckled when they found out I had a PhD. Did they actually respect me? Did I have credibility with them? And the same thing when I was a kid. I was young. As a kid, I was young. I was cute because I was a kid. And, people looked at me as someone that had a lot to learn. And I had the same issue, as this adult. I looked young. I was cute, right? I'm not cute, right? And so people saw that. And it occurred to me that there was something else that I needed to do in order to innovate. The idea itself wasn't enough. There was this whole other world of things that I needed to figure out in order to be successful. And it really just hit me. There was this other layer of innovation that had to happen. I needed to multiply my innovation together and integrate it and take it to these new dimensions and, dive into my inner self. And, it kind of blew my mind that there was this other thing, this other intangible thing that I needed to focus on in order to make my ideas a reality. And I completely neglected it, completely focused on my technical skills, my technical acumen, and it seems silly now looking back, but I really thought that that's what it took, that the knowledge was enough to go forward and make this a reality. But it was, I was conflicted because I didn't want to have to think of all the extra things, right? Why would I have to go? Should I have to go through all of that work? I wanted to have the idea, and everyone loves it, and I'm famous, and I didn't want to have to rehash things, or I just wanted to talk about the things and have it accepted without doing all of these extra things. You can go on the internet, you can find advice on how to come up with an innovative idea. You can do all of these things. And so what I really needed to do was to start thinking about all of those things that you can't find on the internet. And so that really makes it harder. All right, so the first thing I had to think about was myself, right? This internal dialogue, I call it this endless internal dialogue that comes through when you're trying to think of a new idea. And by and above, the biggest thing is fear. I had confidence coming in, but when I realized that my innovative ideas weren't coming through, it started to create this fear in me, this shyness, this self-doubt. Was I doing something wrong? And it just kind of went around and around in my head. And so I really had to think about this. I can control what's going on inside of myself. And so that gives me a lot of power. I can do the things that I needed to do. All right, so we're talking about innovation squared. So let's innovate squared. All right, so if you feel fear, then the thing that you need to do is get buff. This is by and large the biggest thing that you can do. Do your research, do everything that you need to do to learn about the business that you're working in, to learn about the gaps in the business, how you fit in. If you need technical skills, this is the time to go in and learn what your gaps are, and to build up those technical skills to really work on those things and get yourself awesome. It's amazing how much having that knowledge can help you conquer fear. So first action, definitely get buff. Do what you need to do so that you are knowledgeable about the thing that you want to innovate on. Okay, so now that you're buff, you really worked on this, and you feel like you're knowledgeable, the feeling of fear is going down. Then the next thing is, now that you feel nice and buff, then now you can go and try to push your idea forward. And if you fail, then that's okay. You go back and you try again. And failure, it's going to happen again and again and again. It happened to me as well. And you just have to accept that it's going to happen. None of this is going to be a one shot. Nothing is going to be successful in one shot. You fail, yes, it will happen. I'm telling you now, failure. Sometimes you just say it enough so that it just becomes a regular thing. But you keep trying again and again, and it's eventually going to work. So those are the things that you can kind of control inside of yourself. Pushing past the fear, working to move past failure. Those are the things that you can work inside of yourself. But there's another level, right? There's you. There are the pieces that you can control. But then there's everything else. There's everyone else around you that that you can't control. It's just the world that you live in. It's the environment that you live in. And so you're going to go out, and someone's going to tell you no. You're going to go out. They're going to say no thanks. This is not working. they might say not you. They're like, maybe I like this idea, but I don't, maybe I don't feel comfortable with you doing it. Some people are going to say, my idea is better. They're going to close doors in your face. They're going to tell you that, you're just bad. Stop again. Stop what you're doing. And, who are you again? Why are you talking to me? So all of these things are kind of outside of yourself, and you don't have full control over these things. And so, how can you innovate with the things that you don't have control over? Okay. So if you try and someone tells you no, then the next thing you do is you plant a garden. And I mean, look, automatically makes you feel better, right? Look at this amazing stock image that I put here. It's got like colors and things are growing and it feels good. Plant a garden. When I was when I first went into quarantine, I did what everyone else seemed to do in quarantine. I baked bread and I went and made a garden. And one of the things that I realized when I was making my garden is, I was planting hot peppers because I thought that was cool. I like to show off and eat hot peppers and not react in front of people. So, building this garden of hot peppers feeds my ego. It's a win-win. But what I realized is that I would plant a lot of seeds. All of the seeds were the same type. I planted several of these different types of peppers, and I would give them the same amount of water. I gave them the same amount of sun to help germinate them. And what I saw was that even though I was giving all of these seeds the exact same treatment, some grew and thrived. Others just kind of got wimpy. And I'm like, but I'm doing the same thing with all of these seeds. Why are they so different? And then it occurred to me that gardening and even just keeping things like indoor plants, it's a numbers game. It's really a numbers game. And so, I can't plant one seed, put all of my hopes in it. It fails, and then I'm like, okay, oh well, I guess I'm bad at gardening. I do really have to plant a lot of seeds, and you kind of pick the ones that work out. You pick the ones that grow and thrive, and you nurture those. And the rest, it just didn't work out. That's okay. And so, I thought about this, and this is an approach that I needed to innovate squared. And so I'm building my own garden, and the first thing that I needed to do was to find an advocate. And again, the numbers game, you have to talk to a lot of people. So I talked to people, and they weren't receptive. They said no, just keep talking to people. But I would eventually find that person that would tell me, yes, this is a great idea. I am behind you, and this is going to work out. And this advocate also kind of serves as a bodyguard. One of my first advocates, she had been in the business for a while, and she was only like 5 foot tall. She was a small little lady. She scared everyone though. And I always thought it was funny because she would walk in the room and everyone would be terrified of her. And to talk to her, she was a lot like me. We're kind of blunt, we're to the point, and she terrified everyone else, but we were like, yes, let's do this thing. And the awesome thing was, even if I wasn't in the room, this little 5 foot tall, scary woman could speak up for me. She could help make me bigger than I was. She could help protect me from criticism, like a bodyguard. And even though I'd been through lots of people, talked to lots of people, it really just took this one to help me build my career. She did so many things for me that I would never have been able to move forward along on my own, just because she believed in my ideas and my ability. All right, so that's one part of the garden, is the advocate / bodyguard. Another thing that you need, that I found is very, very critical, is you need to build a cheerleading squad. And these are going to be those people that, maybe they can't quite move mountains for you the way that your advocate or bodyguard can do, but they're the ones that your spirits are low. You're like, man, I had another failure. I tried really hard and it didn't work out. They're on the wings telling you, no, you're amazing. You've got this. You can really move forward. This is really critical. I have a few people that that I talk to about the ins and outs of what I'm trying. I'm moving forward this idea, and I tell them, they didn't like this idea. They didn't go for it, and they're just there. Stick with it. You've got this. I believe in you. It seems like a small thing, and the words that they're saying, they're not complex. They're not trying to mentor you. They're not trying to tell you what to do, but they're just kind of there for you. And so that's kind of another piece of the garden that that needs to happen, that can help you move those innovative ideas forward. They protect you from falling back. So the other piece of this garden that you're building is identifying your fans. So when I was little and I created this program that I thought was amazing, I went with who just happened to be around, my parents and my sister, and they were my fans, but not in the way that I needed for that product that I was bringing to bear. And so that's the other piece. Identify your fans. Are the people that are going to like your idea, are they kind of serious? Do they want to see the numbers? Are they interested in looking at a spectacle? Or are they, do they want to have fun? Who are your fans? Who are the people that you're talking to? Who are the people that are going to be receptive to your ideas? Why would you try to push your ideas through someone that, doesn't get it? They're not a fan for whatever reason. It could have nothing to do with you. Who are your fans? I, again, made this mistake earlier in my career. I tried to push ideas through the people around me because those were the ones that I thought had full sway over my career choices. What I needed to start doing, though, and what I did, was I started talking to people outside my immediate sphere of influence. Scary, especially for engineers that try, not the most extroverted people on the planet, but something that has to happen. And again, you make sure that you're strong inside, you're nice and big and buff on the inside, and that allows you to go and talk to people. And what you'll find is that the people that you talk to, you'll find those people that are receptive to those ideas. So you're building your fan base. So those three things are really important. So you have this innovative idea, you go through all of the steps needed to create your innovative idea. But in order to move it forward, you really need to make yourself bigger than you are alone. So you have those advocates that can speak for you when you're not in the room. You have those cheerleaders behind you that are picking you up when you need it, and you have your audience that is there and waiting and listening to whatever it is that you're going to do next. That's really the other level of innovation that's required to get your ideas out there. Okay, but what if you've done all of that? What if you've done everything and it still doesn't seem to be working? So I received a lot of great advice from a lot of leaders at multiple levels in my organization. Early in my career, I tried to follow their advice because I looked up to them. They would say things like, work on your executive presence, be patient, things are going to come. And so I did that. I sat and I worked on myself. I worked on how I communicated with others within the organization. I did everything that I was supposed to do. And what happened when I did all of those things? Absolutely nothing. Nothing happened. Nothing at all. And I kind of realized that I had been given a lot of great advice on how to maintain the status quo. This was completely the opposite of my inclinations. At my core, I'm an innovator. I'm a disruptor. I change the status quo. And so being given advice on keeping the status quo, that's not the path towards innovation. And then, I'm around a lot of engineers. A lot of those engineers had similar backgrounds. They had similar experience. So, how would they think of something different? How would they be able to advise me on how to think of things differently? So even by the nature of who I was, how I look, how I come across, it's different than those that come before me. I'm disrupting the status quo just by being here, just by being in the room. I'm already shaking things up. And every time someone comes in with a different background, a different experience, a different perspective, they're going to disrupt the established way of thinking. And that's the core of what innovation is, right? And if innovation is such a good thing, if it's such a great thing, if everyone wants to achieve it, then it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. And so I really realized that all of the advice that I had been given, it wasn't going to work for me. It wasn't crafted for me. If I was proposing new ways to apply artificial intelligence and machine learning to our business, I really needed to be innovative in my entire approach, not just the technology I was bringing in, but the way that I brought that technology in. So instead of trying to fit into this expected status quo, I really needed to start thinking about the things that set me apart. And so all of the things that seemed to make it hard for me to gain respect, all of the chuckling when people hear about my background, I couldn't change those things. I can't change the way that I perceived. So I thought, what if I leaned into those things instead? What if I leaned into the things that I couldn't change? What if I could use those things to my advantage? And those are things that other people wouldn't be able to emulate. That's a way that I could truly be innovative. What if I could play up things like my timeless, eternal youthfulness, or my willingness to find the fun in things, or my desire to create enthusiasm in others, and even my impatience. I want to create change, and I'm impatient. What if instead of trying to hold all those things down, I leaned into them and did those things more? And so what I found was that before I was in a zone where I made things comfortable for others. And now I was moving into a zone where I made things comfortable for myself. And this was something that really became strong. So in essence, I was building this personal brand, something that was very different from the people next to me. And I noticed a few things, and the effect was pretty drastic. I started to see the strength of my advocacy increasing. So my advocates became stronger, louder. On the other side, I was also starting to be seen as a threat, which is a good thing. Lots of people are very comfortable with the status quo. If I need to innovate, I'm going to make some people uncomfortable. It's going to be very different. And so I needed to be strong enough and resilient enough to weather all of those people that saw me as a threat. I needed my advocates, I needed my cheerleaders, I needed my fans to help me weather those things and push the innovation forward. This is like a true innovation squared. I needed to be strong and I needed to be resilient. Continue finding and nurturing the advocates that could promote me and guard me, continue finding the cheerleaders that could motivate me if I was feeling down, and then continuing to service my fans who were just like, hey, Yolanda, Dr. Mack, what's next? What are you going to think of next? So those things became really, really important. So now I want to make sure for for all of you, lean into what sets you apart and craft it into an advantage. And this is the fun thing about innovating is I don't know what your own innovation squared is going to look like, because it's something that's going to be your own. It's something that's going to be new. It's something that we have never seen before. Each one of you has your own individual paths, your own individual battles, and that's what innovation is all about, is creating something new, being something new, challenging the status quo. All of you are going to create something that has never been seen before. And I'm personally excited to see what it looks like, what that becomes for each one of you. So I'm just gonna leave you now with the thought of innovation squared. And because sometimes you have to innovate to innovate.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yolanda Mack, for that powerful reminder that you have to innovate to innovate. And there were a lot of juicy nuggets there. We've got about 4 minutes remaining, and so maybe we have time for one question. Anyone want to just raise their hand, and we'll get that question to Dr. Mack. All right, John's got something for us. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, when you're finding your fan base, and fans want to be given some kind of permission to be your fan, to advocate for you. What are some ways that you can let that fan base know, like, yeah, I'm giving you permission, like, and engaging and empowering them?
One of the things that I definitely try to do is to make sure that I'm open for questions. So I always allow anyone in my fan base to directly question me on any question that they have, and I try to make sure I answer it. And they'll go and tell someone else, and so, they can say, she's really easy to talk to. She's open to my ideas. And so if they're open to my ideas, I'm also similarly open to theirs. And I try to help them bring their own ideas to fruition. And so it's really about building trust. It's about being there for them, not ignoring them, not telling them what to do. A lot of times I also have people come to me and say, it's a great idea, Yolanda, but I don't understand what it means for me. And making sure to be able to talk to them and from their own perspective, not my perspective, from their perspective, that really helps. And I continue to do that at multiple levels, the lower level, upper level, and it's something that I try to do continuously. It's not a one-off. It's a thing, continuing to nurture that garden.
Super. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was one quick question in the chat here. Jody asked, how do you find a mentor? Maybe if you have a couple of quick bullet points for us, Dr. Mack.
Yeah, finding a mentor is a lot like dating, where you talk to a lot of people, you see whether or not your personalities mesh, it doesn't work out, and you're like, man, maybe I should stop. But then you got to get back out there, talk to someone else. And you have to talk in a bunch of different environments. Maybe it's someone that you just see in the hallway. You strike up a conversation. You find you have similar interests. My mentor that I mentioned, the 5 foot tall lady, I think I was just complaining to her about something. I'm like, man, I can't get anything working. It was very just ad hoc. And I told her some of my concerns, and unbeknownst to me, she's listening to my concerns, and she says, come work for me. And it was just that easy. So it's a lot. It's again a lot like dating. Talk to people. Talk to people. Talk to people. If you don't feel comfortable or if that spark doesn't ignite, that's okay. You know, go and talk to someone else. And that's literally how I found all of my mentors. It is a very awkward thing when you try to say, hey, you know, I'm going to go talk to you. Can you be my mentor? So it's a numbers game. And you might have a lot of partial mentors, people that might help you in one aspect of your career, and others that might help you in others. But that's how to do it. You put yourself out there, and you try to get past any shyness, and you just look for that spark that you have with someone else that can help bring you along in your career.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, that was fantastic advice. Once again, thanks so much, Dr. Mack. We really appreciate you being here and for your words of wisdom. This was really powerful stuff.